Hey there, all you wonderful folks. I hope you're having an absolutely amazing day. Welcome back to yet another exciting episode of What If Naruto Was Taken by Yoda and Trained to Become a Jedi Knight. Remember to show some serious love to the incredible author behind this fanfiction. The link is waiting for you right in the description below. If you're digging this intriguing what if, drop a comment down low and share your thoughts. And don't forget to explore more captivating what ifs on the channel. Alright, let's dive right into this video. The Lion City rooftops. So this all begs the question, would you come back now? You seem happy enough living with the Jedi. Well, the galaxy's kind of in a civil war right now, and the Jedi are getting a little heated serving as frontline generals Naruto. And Jiraiya knew there was more to the story. He knew Minato and Kushina well enough that their offspring wouldn't just bow out and leave others to fight the war, but Naruto didn't really have the time to explain the intricacies of the Clone Wars and his expulsion from the Order. At least that's what he told himself. Reliving Siri's last moments wasn't in the cards for him emotionally right now. Look, it's not important. What is important is that I got a little heated in battle, and I think something went wrong with my seal. I can feel Kurama's chakra flowing constantly, and it's messing with my concentration on the force. I'm worried that he might be able to break out at this rate. Jiraiya sat up and gave his full attention. Minato's seal failing. Let me take a look, Jiraiya demanded, but Naruto stared blankly at him doing nothing. Well, hurry up. How do I show it to you? I've never actually seen it myself. Let's channel some chakra, Jiraiya said impatiently, too familiar with Naruto's face and attitude to separate him from Minato or Kushina. And just how do I do that, exactly? The blonde asked. Jiraiya's neck gave up hope, and the gray-haired sage had to catch his face with the palm of his hand before it got away from him. Well, guess it was time to start teaching another student. From the beginning, then. In order for you to mold chakra, you must first understand chakra. There's the physical component acquired from training, and from your musculature. I'm sure you've got that down in spades. And then there's the spiritual component gained from meditation and experience. This is the part that you've reneged on, so we'll have to focus on that, Jiraiya stated as Naruto hummed. And how do I do that? Naruto questioned as Jiraiya thought over that before nodding to himself. Try to get a feel for it like you do for that force thing. Except, don't reach out to the force, find your chakra, Jiraiya instructed as Naruto nodded before he closed his eyes and began to get a feel for his chakra. He knew it was there, like it was there, in the back of his head. It wasn't long before he found what he was looking for. Soon the lessons from the academy began to come back to him, and forming the rat seal he felt the familiar warm sensation flow within him. Is this it? Naruto questioned Jiraiya, who looked at him with shock. Yeah, although you're channeling a lot more chakra than necessary, Jiraiya stated as Naruto nodded. He knew he had a lot of chakra, due to the fact that both the force and chakra seek dominance. He had to keep them in balance. Now, to actually use the chakra for more than just physical enhancement, say, to walk on water, you have to focus it under your feet. Apply the same to other aspects. This way you can tremendously strengthen parts of your body with chakra. Now, let's take a look. Jiraiya trailed off as the black markings appeared on Naruto's stomach. He gave the seal a good once over. Something had disturbed the original formula, and exponentially more chakra was leaking into Naruto's own system than intended. That was probably what was causing him such distress. Well, I can say it is definitely weakened quite a bit, but it's nothing I can't fix. But I don't think things should end with me simply fixing it. I think it would be best if you learn how to fix it yourself before leaving. As much as I wouldn't mind you coming back to visit, we wouldn't want the fox getting loose somewhere in the galaxy before you can get help back here now, would we? Naruto nodded at that. He did not have much time on this planet, and he didn't want to have to come back every time in order to have it fixed. How do you think I'm gonna be able to learn sealing jutsu? I barely know how to channel chakra, Naruto shouted tempestuously. He didn't have the time to learn something like that. Relax, kid. It's a lot simpler than most people think. I'll summon Jiraiya and get a copy of the seal's key made for you. I can give you a crash course in the necessary Fuinjutsu, but we're gonna have to work on that chakra control first, otherwise you might end up ruining the seal permanently, Jiraiya warned. So how do I work on my chakra control? Naruto posed his question as Jiraiya only smirked and bit his thumb to draw the blood necessary, and motioning his hands into the necessary signs, he prepared the summoning jutsu to begin his work on retightening the seal. Lion City, Training Ground 38, 4 days later. Naruto huffed as he concentrated on using his chakra to stand on water. He had gotten tree climbing down in just 3 days, so that was a start, a major one by Jiraiya's expression, but this was the second step, and it was significantly harder. Sweat formed on his forehead as he tried to keep himself from falling into the rapids below. However, not even 10 seconds in, and he had already fallen and been drenched in the late autumn waters of the river. Without the proper foundations in his shinobi training, this is going to be a lot more difficult than climbing trees with a static amount of chakra, he thought. While walking up the tree's bark provided for a predictable surface with minimal change, the flowing water was not so formulaic. Naruto closed his eyes as he retrieved a warm towel by the fire to prevent hypothermia, and thought on how he could help him better his control. What if I use the force to predict the small changes in the water's movements to help me out? Naruto questioned himself. Doing that would require a great amount of control with the force, something he didn't yet have, whilst focusing on using chakra. And it was abandoning chakra to focus solely on the force that got him where he was now. Chakra only, he decided. He'd work on practicing the two together in the future. He was on a schedule, and there wasn't much room to dawdle. General. Naruto was broken out of his thoughts as he saw his fellow comrades, with their armor and weapons returned to them, walk out from the tree line. I was wondering where the 6 of you had been taken. Good to see you're all in one piece, Naruto stated to King as he pulled himself out of the water. The set clone chuckled as he glanced to his side, seeing Kenichi looking at the group intensely. Well, we were in a prison camp for a short while, before Kenichi brought us here. But that one is still keeping an eye on us. Storm responded as he pointed at Kenichi, who narrowed his eyes. He didn't know what he was saying. And he can't understand basic as well. We can insult him all we want and he doesn't even realize. Fang pointed out with a mischievous grin as Storm nodded, sharing his brother's idea. And you two idiots still don't understand his language either. He could do the same thing if he were as juvenile as you. Blitz added, causing the 2 clones to look at him with cheeky grins. Hey, you can understand some, right guys? Naruto countered as the clone looked at him, surprised. Wait, how do you know that? We only just started learning from King while in the camp. Blitz's questioned Naruto, who pointed at himself. Cause I've been teaching them too, it's a bit difficult to learn, since it's got a different sentence structure than basic, but after the whole deal that went down on Laredo, I was thinking it'd be nice to have a code language that only we can understand. So in the free time I've been teaching these guys while you were going around inspecting the troops and stuff. Naruto stated, causing Blitz's eyes to twitch at being left out of the loop. That's actually a really good idea, why didn't you think of that? Yeah, the crash course I've been giving us over the past few days isn't all the time we've spent learning the general's native language, though it was harder than we've ever studied it before. King admitted. He'd even gotten better now that he held conversations with Kenichi, who could only speak in the Ajnan language, but it was a bit of a stretch to call him fluent. What's wrong? Afraid that we are better than you at something? Storm mocked with a cheeky grin, causing Blitz to lightly quiver before sighing. Not in the slightest. I'm just so proud of you, that's all. The clones groaned at his attempt at sarcasm, though Blitz's ego was too large to admit to them that he was sincere. I must admit, when you said they were clones, I almost didn't believe you. I thought one of them might have been using an advanced clone jutsu like the first Hokage could, but they all act and even look a bit different. Looks like you spacefolk have far surpassed Orochimaru's crude DNA experiments. Jiraiya brought himself in on the conversation, drawing the group's attention. After a brief round of introductions, Naruto responded to Jiraiya's comment. Clones of the same person aren't the same people. They're a lot different from each other. Naruto's words were met with nods from the clones. General's got that right. I could never be as stuck up and buy the books as Blitz. Storm proclaimed as Blitz's glared at him. And I could never be as ignorant and simple-minded as you. Sorry for trying to maintain some semblance of order and discipline in our unit. Blitz stated as Storm waved him off. There was a reason why his name was Storm. Enough, you two. King stated as Blitz's obeyed because, well, King was their superior and Storm because he didn't want to get in a fight with King. Naruto chuckled at the two. Well, I hate to cut this meeting short, but I'll be heading back to train. I want to be able to solve this issue if it happens again, and that means this is probably gonna take about a month to get everything down. I guess you guys can sit around and relax. I thought things would be a lot worse off, but we found the Hokage quick enough, and the danger is pretty minimal here. Naruto stated as the clones nodded. They didn't have much to do on this mission other than protect the general. No kidding, when I heard we would be going to a planet with borderline super soldiers, I expected more action. Storm stated as he lazily watched Naruto train. They had nothing better to do. Well, we got some action, even though we lost. Fang countered as he tinkered on a datapad doing who knows what. PFFT, says you. I thrashed both of my opponents. Storm stated as Blitz rolled his eyes. And yet you were still unconscious when we were taken prisoner. Stoke responded. He didn't talk much, but when he did, he made some good points. Storm huffed while Fang and Flash chuckled. I don't really mind this. It is like a vacation. A long vacation. Wonder if this place has any nice beaches like Corellia's. Flash said just in time for a loud splash to signal that Naruto had failed again. Probably in the summer, but we're almost 60 degrees north and we're nearing the end of October. No way the coastal waters and lakes are all half frozen by now. King deflated their hopes with a cold dose of reality. They all sat in silence as they watched Naruto train, but Blitz wasn't having any of it. Really? So, we are just going to sit here and do nothing? Blitz questioned his brothers, who turned to him. He wasn't even looking at them, he was just starting as his reflection in the snow-capped river. Can't you just learn to relax for once? Flash questioned him. Often excluded, Blitz was never one to stay put. He always wanted to do something that was productive to the whole. The last 4 days weren't anything but language tutoring to alleviate the boredom of constant relaxing. We failed to protect our general, got captured, and now we are just sitting here, doing nothing about it. What if those shinobi had been Dooku or Grievous? Or any one of those acolytes we all faced on Lairdar? We'd be in a lot more pieces than the 2 of you were after that. Blitz gestured to Storm and Fang's cybernetic prosthesis. Then what do you want us to do? Storm huffed in annoyance as Blitz narrowed his eyes. I say we get to the grindstone and train, the same as the general. Drills just like me and King did as commandos back on Kamino. What good are we if we cannot even complete an escort mission? We can't just be glorified bodyguards or dressed up vagabonds playing private security. We're Naruto's elite, damn it. He picked us to come along because we're his top men, and it's time we started acting like we are. It's time we started fighting like we are. Blitz attempted to rally his comrades, but it came off as if it was some sort of order. King thought he might be going overboard, but he saw the merit in Blitz's idea and agreed wholeheartedly. He quietly hated being stagnant and so far behind Naruto. He didn't want to admit it, but the only reason he was able to defeat Ventress was because of the general's battle meditation. If it came to it, he needed to be able to hold his own against any of Dooku or Grievous's underlings without any help. Alright then. That settles it. Grab your gear and set your weapons on mark. 3 on 3, fire team drills. King questioned the group as another splash was heard in the distance. Ah, that's a great idea, but you might want to check in with him first. Naruto called out as he picked himself out of the river, pointing to the raven-haired jonin that hadn't left their sight since bringing them here. Kenichi peeked up, turning to King who did his best to translate their plans to him. Absolutely not. If you're going to be using weapons, then I cannot let you do them without oversight. Kenichi snapped to the clone's chagrin. We don't take orders from you. Stoke spoke up as he looked at Kenichi with his stoic face. Naruto sighed as he stepped up. You're in our city, you follow our rules. Kenichi leaned forward, ready to take them to task should they refuse. How's the nose? Storm butted in with an insult almost like he was trying to escalate the situation. Guys, it's only supervision. Naruto ordered them to calm down, and they quickly fell in line. Kenichi nodded, so long as they obeyed Uzumaki's orders and the blonde obeyed the Hokage, this would do. Alright, wait here while I find you a suitable babysitter. Kenichi commanded. You know, you could always just watch over them yourself, Kenichi. I don't need you here guarding me. Jiraiya offered to expedite the process. I'm not entirely convinced Uzumaki isn't compromised yet, and no offense, Lord Hokage, but you're not exactly a spring chicken anymore. Don't coddle me like I'm some feeble old man, boy. Just because you're stronger than me now doesn't mean I'm helpless. I've still got enough vigor for all the fine young ladies, so I think I could hold out long enough against this brat. The old sage barked. Kenichi grumbled something about a stubborn old man before disappearing in a cloud of smoke. The clones gathered their gear quietly, making the necessary adjustments to compensate for some of the damage done to their Phase 1 trooper armor. After just 10 minutes of waiting, Kenichi returned with a flicker of leaves. A woman around Naruto's ages with her hair in a bun was in tow. Why do I have to be the one doing this? The young woman groaned as Kenichi pointed at the group. Because I said so. Just make sure they don't get up to anything suspicious. That's all you have to do. Kenichi stated before he disappeared once more. The young woman sighed as she looked at the group, who looked back at her. Uncomfortable with the silence between her and the soldiers, she defaulted to giving them an awkward salute. That was something soldiers did, right? Hello there. My name's Tenten. I'm a jonin of the Leaf Village. I'll be supervising you all today. I'll take you to a nearby training ground where you can, train to your heart's content. She stated as the group of clones just stared before they stood at attention and began to follow not her, but King walking beside her. During the trip, Tenten kept glancing down at his weapon, ever so curious. So, what are these weapons called? Tenten questioned King, as they led the group of 6 clones to the training ground. King looked at his blaster as he brought it up. And King struggled. While his understanding of the native language was good enough, his vocabulary didn't yet include the word blaster. There was no direct translation, so she'd have to learn the basic word. This is a blaster, and like all blasters they are very lethal when they hit their target. King responded, hoping that it got through. Being a weapons specialist, Tenten understood concepts lethality and targeting well enough, even though she didn't know why it was called something so ridiculous sounding. Then why are you using them? Wouldn't your comrades get seriously injured? She questioned, but King looked at her, trying to slowly understand what she was saying. Well, they can be switched to only stun others. King responded, not sure if he said that right. Tenten just looked on before realizing that it had the ability to paralyze others. She was intrigued and would have to get a closer look at one sometime. Training Ground 86, Alliance City. Well, this is it. Training Ground 86. It's mostly a forested area with some patches of grassland, but there's a small but deep pond somewhere in the middle, if it's not frozen already. Should take care of all your non-urban training needs. Tenten pointed out as King nodded as he turned to the group. Fang, Flash and Storm, your team won. The rest are with me. We'll go 2 rounds to get a baseline, and we'll switch the teams up during the second one. King stated as Storm chuckled. He was always up for a good fight, and if it was against King, then sign him up. The 2 teams quickly split and went into opposite directions to give time and space. Tenten in the meanwhile jumped into a tree to observe, unconcerned of any danger. If the Hokage said that the leader of these guys was a Konoha shinobi, then she doubted they were a hostile threat. So, what's the plan? Flash questioned his 2 teammates, who all hummed. I saw we rush him with surprise as our ally. Storm responded as the 2 shook their heads. While Storm's rushdown tactics worked especially well against mindless droid drones, against living breathing humans, trained soldiers at that, they would have no such luck. I'm not opposed to it as a final surprise attack, but why don't we use the element of surprise and lay an ambush before we do? We can use this forest to our advantage, and when the 2 of us catch them off guard, Storm can drop in and overpower them. Fang pointed out as the 2 looked interested. Any idea where we can? Flash questioned as Fang hummed, looking around before smirking and pointing up. We'll use the treetops. Remember our training, an enemy rarely looks up on a battlefield, especially in such an environment. Flash, you're the fastest, lure the others into our trap. We'll use blaster fire initially to try and get them out, and if it doesn't work then CQC it is. Fang laid out the plan as the others nodded. Then you 2 better get to climbing. I'll be coming in hot in no time. Flash stated before he ran out into the forest, leaving the other 2 to their own devices. Come on Storm, let's use some mud and leaves to camouflage ourselves. Fang stated as Storm nodded. Adding some foliage to their armor might even catch King by surprise. It wasn't before they heard the sound of blaster fire. Oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit. Flash thought as he ran for his life while being shot at. When he had gone into the forest to find and lead King and his team into an ambush, he didn't realize how quickly he would run into them, nor how quickly he could come under fire from 3 different directions. He dispersed his team into a V formation with himself being in the center rear. Clever. Flash threw his blaster fire shots went over him. It was a good tactic if you wanted to surround the enemy, but Flash was tasked with leading them back, not attacking them outright. If those 2 aren't ready then we are so screwed. Flash thought as he returned blaster fire. Eventually he finally closed the spot where his team had set the ambush. He quickly slid down under a fallen tree as he turned and leveled his blaster, firing off rounds to his right. As King's team closed in on him, Fang and Storm sprung the trap. From their vantage point they could easily spot King, Stoic, and Blitz's location. Open fire. Fang shouted as he and Storm unleashed a rain of fire from above. Stoic was caught completely off guard as blaster fire from above and from below managed to knock him out. As the 2 clones in the tree moved to change targets, they noticed King and Blitz rushing towards them. Oh no you don't. Storm shouts as he pointed his blaster at King, but was knocked out of the tree when a shot from Blitz managed to hit him dead center. Damn it. Flash muttered before he charged in himself, intent on taking the fight to King and Blitz. As he did so, Fang jumped from the tree and right into Blitz, as he began to wrestle the clone. But it was proving to be more difficult than he had anticipated. Blitz was one tough son of a bitch, and even though he failed the course, he still had commando training. Flash in the meantime tried to get close to King, but that was a plan in vain, as their commander managed to easily knock him on his ass, before he turned to the 2 fighting clones. He saw that Fang was trying to use Blitz's own blaster on him, and in order to end the match, King calmly walked up to the 2, and leveled his blaster at Fang. I'd surrender if I was you, unless you want that nice stinging sensation that comes with being stunned. King stated as Fang stiffened before he slowly raised his hands up. He was trapped and he knew it. King nodded to himself as all the clones rallied on him. Time for round 2, but let's switch up the teams, don't want to rely on the same strategies every time. Blitz, you've got Stoic, and Fang. I'll take Storm and Flash. Same rules. Go. King stated as the 2 teams dispersed. While they did so, Tenten hummed to herself as she observed their match. She took note of how Team 1 used stealth to ambush their enemy, while Team 2 had a more tactical formation to surround and subdue the enemy. She observed this second match a bit more, as she had seen some weakness in the first round. As she did so, she saw how Fang and Stoic almost disregarded Blitz's, despite him being the brains. Seems like without that King guy, he isn't too confident. It's a shame, he's probably the most well-rounded soldier there. Tenten thought. After the first match, the weapons specialist had noticed that while each clone had some sort of specialty, CQB, stealth, speed, or whatever, that their other areas, while not lacking, weren't exactly up to par with their basic combat skills, which Storm was uniquely lacking in. They'd win a gold medal in their area of expertise, for sure, but that was it. King might win a couple second or third in a few areas for his remarkable reflexes, near perfect aim, and he was definitely a contender for first in CQB with Storm. But there the one clone exempt from this trend was Blitz. He had no specialty, but he more than made up for it by being second or third best in all fields. Despite that, there was one part of basic combat that Tenten could tell he dominated over all the clones, and from the reception he'd received by everyone but King, she doubted anyone had noticed yet. His tactics. And the one named Storm is way too hot-headed. She thought as she watched him charge straight into Blitz, who was already isolated due to his teammates not responding to his plan. She did take notice of Blitz's little trap, some sort of small device that sent electric shock to subdue the enemy, a trap that Flash fell right into. This isn't looking good. Storm muttered as he was tag-teamed by Fang and Stoic, who quickly subdued him with mixed-range combat. The plan was to pick off the other team one by one, but Storm just had to get revenge on Blitz and charged right in. Well, it worked and he quickly overwhelmed the commando dropout. It left himself isolated from his team, and Fang and Stoic finished him off. With Flash also taken out by the shock trap, it was 2-on-1. Surrender, sir, you're outnumbered. Stoic stated as he and Fang nevered their blasters at King, who looked at the two. I am? You're going to need a hell of a lot more than the two of you if you want to say that. King boasted as he charged at the two with his blades drawn. The two quickly opened fire, but King proved to be more agile than they had anticipated. Quickly closing the distance, King sent a brutal punch to Fang's gut, who hunched over and fell in pain. Stoic gulped as he discarded his blaster and opted for CQC. He threw a right hook at King, who quickly dodged before smacking his extended arm with the blunt side of his knife, disarming the clones, and with a hefty shove pinning him by his shoulder into the ground. Shit. Stoic said as he tried to get up but felt cold steel at his neck. Looking down, he saw King pointing his knife at him. Game over. King stated as Stoic sighed and nodded. King stood up and held him up as well as the group rallied on him once more, or crawled to him in Fang's case. Tenten jumped out from her overlook. They finished their drill. Storm, was it? She questioned as the said clone looked at her as he nodded and crossed his arms. I noticed that you prefer to fight at close range, using your fists. And, I can't believe I am actually saying this, but there is someone who may be able to help you improve on that. She finished with a sigh as Storm raised an eyebrow. Help? What? He questioned as she pointed right. If you keep going straight that way, you'll hit training ground 42. There you will most definitely find my teammate Lee, and my own sensei Might Guy. He's a taijutsu master and he might be able to teach you some things. Just don't start wearing the green jumpsuit, please, she begged that last bit to herself. Storm raised an eyebrow before slowly nodding. He could understand her a bit and he knew what she was saying. Taijutsu, training. He thought to himself. Of course, he asked himself what kind of name was Guy. Like he was the one to talk. But wait, you might get lost. I'll just take you to him, shouldn't be more than a few minutes to introduce you. He and Lee are training all the time, and I'm sure they wouldn't mind some company. Before the others could say anything, Storm and Tenten were already off. King sighed as he sat down under a tree. No point in him taking part of the drill as it would be unfair to Fang and Flash seeing Storm had taken off. You four keep training then. I'm gonna take a breather. King ordered as the rest paired off for a 2-on-2, while he climbed a tree to get a better lookout point. When Tenten returned hastily, not wanting to miss the match, she sat beside him to do the same. She had noticed something now that King was out of the drill. While she did, a few more shinobi had dropped by to watch the drills. It seemed like word had gotten out somehow, or Kenichi had noticed and sent more ninja to act as chaperones. Training Ground 86, Central Lake. Listen, if I am right about this, then Fang is most likely going to ignore Blitz's ideas, and the same goes for Blitz. They've got to be arguing about strategies, so how about we rush in and close the gap before firing on them point blank? Flash questioned Stoic, who nodded. And as they did just that, they sweat dropped at the sight before them. And I'm telling you your plan is garbage. Fang shouted loudly as Blitz groaned. Would he have to get paired with Fang of all people? At least Storm was smart enough to know he was stupid. Stealth won't work against them. Stoic knows how you operate. We need to follow my plan and use the high ground to our advantage before they get the drop on us. Liz countered as Fang scoffed at that. Before Fang could counter, the two were quickly hit by Flash and Stoic, who walked out of the tree line, looking at the downed duo. That was just sad. Stoic stated as Fang and Blitz glared at him. True, was all Flash said. While the group was doing their own thing, Tenten was talking to King regarding the performance of the four clones. You know, the one called Blitz, I've noticed he relies too much on you to back up his decisions. She stated as King slowly nodded. He was still trying to learn the language, though his accent was thick and rife with mispronunciations. A problem he's had for a long time. It's a damn shame since he's probably every bit as good as me. He's just had no confidence in himself since flunking out of the program. He tends to spiral in on himself when things go south. It's the only thing holding him back. King agreed as he watched the drill. And the other three could become deadly assassins with proper training. One's absurdly fast, another absurdly deadly with those knives, and it took me a while to figure out the last one was even here. She added as King thought over that. Clones were trained to be soldiers, not assassins, but given that his brothers had developed unique skills, and the fact that their gene donor was considered the bounty hunter in the galaxy, it wasn't difficult to imagine clones specializing in that role. I've got no problems training Stoic to be extra deadly with those weapons of his, but I can't help all of you. But aside from Guy-sensei, I think I know a few others that might be of some help. Tenten pondered their options for a minute. Really? You think your shinobi will train us? Fang was still a little sour at almost getting bested by a teenage girl, and was probably the least interested in getting help from Naruto's former countrymen. Well, it couldn't hurt to ask. The Hokage seems to have a major soft spot for your boss, so we've got some leeway. Flash, you're more than fast enough, but you need to work on your fundamentals a bit more. I think I know a perfect all-rounder shinobi to be of help for you. I hope you like kids though, cause he's current stuck teaching some of our brats. Tenten's mind briefly wandered back to her youth. A teacher? Can't think of any better person to teach. Blitz joked, eliciting an actual laugh from Fang for once. His name is Iruka Yamino. He taught all of us shinobi when we were just little tykes playing ninja back in the academy. He's a jack of all trades, and he'd be perfect to help you round out your combat skills. Head back to the village and look for the large dome-shaped building with a large yard behind it, and ask for Iruka. He's got a scar right across his nose. Tell him his favorite student Tenten recommended you. As for your Blitz, I think you've actually already met the person that I think would be perfect in bringing out your potential. He's actually the most popular choice to replace Master Jiraiya as Hokage. Your first test is finding him. He's got spiky silver hair, and he always wears a blue face mask. Oh hell. Blitz groaned, recognizing the apt description. His name is Kakashi Hatake. And the same situation goes for you Fang, but finding Asuma-sensei should be a lot easy. You should be able to find him without any trouble, just follow the stench of smoke and burly chest hair. Fang face folded. Did chest hair even have a smell? Either way he recognized the name Asuma as the one who was able to match King. Which just leaves you, King. Sorry to say, but I don't think there's anything anyone can do for you. I saw the way you held your own against those two, and I heard you defeated Samui from Kumo and held your own against Asuma. I'm pretty sure you'd win in a straight fight with just about anyone in the alliance that isn't Kage level. Maybe you should ask Naruto after he's done training. Tenten questioned. Not really an option, least not anymore. King replied, causing her to furl her brow in confusion. Isn't he a swordsman? Tenten had heard that he'd lock blades with Kenichi, an impressive enough feat to qualify him as a master of Kenjutsu. He is, but his blade work is dependent on a power only he has. They acquired the force and developing watered-down versions to teach me is challenging for him, not to mention time-consuming. He's already taught me all that he could. Even if there's room for some fine tweaking, it's not worth it. Besides, I get the feeling I won't have much time to train once we're out of here. I'd rather find someone else to help me out now. King replied. Naruto had indeed taught him all that he could, but those forms weren't as effective without the force. Where do you think you'll be able to find a blade master that will be able to teach you? Tenten questioned, to which King opened his mouth to say something. There's that Kenichi guy, isn't there? He managed to hold off the general, that's pretty impressive. Maybe him. Ah, no, there's not. Have you met the guy? He still thinks you're enemy combatants. He'd be too paranoid to hand you a rock, let alone teach you his blade work. Tenten resisted the urge to laugh for another reason. If they thought Kenichi was only holding off Naruto, they might be too delusional to train. Not sure who I could turn to then. That Asuma guy seemed pretty good with his knives, but he's busy training Fang. Wait, there was that guy that took out everyone using a bunch of swords, what was his name, B or something? King proposed to Kumo Jinchuriki. B isn't exactly the mentoring type, you know. Unless you want to learn how to rap some truly terrible bars. Tenten's voice strained as she dismissed the possibility. Sorry, but I really can't think of anyone. We could always ask Master Jiraiya for advice, if he agrees, she proposed. 50,000. A voice crawled up their spines from the trees. Tenten turned to the origin of the voice, but King had already locked eyes with the culprit. With most of his armor gone, Sasuke was a bit more difficult to recognize just by his face. His incinerated dark gray bodysuit had been replaced by a sleeker black one of his own creation. Out of all his former Mandalorian cladding, only the boots and gloves remained semi-intact. The rest of his armor had been melted down and recast into the only mold readily available, an old shinobi wartime design, with 4 kusazuri following along the front and back of each thigh. Under his armor was a gray piece of cloth that came up and out over the top of his chest plate and draped over his shoulders, with a large collar concealing his neck and chin. His old utility belt has been reinforced with steel, given that it now served to keep everything in place, rather than just store his tools. He had chosen to armor only the back of his dominant sword hand, leaving his left unobstructed for mobility, and one-handed seals for jutsu. Over top his new getup was a steel blue cloak of wool for warmth against the autumn months of the north. What was that? Tenten inquired. 50,000. 50,000 what? King raised an eyebrow before he stood up. He wasn't comfortable throwing around that much of Ross's money without consent, so. 35. King countered as Tenten looked confused. 35. What were they talking about? Sasuke grinned as he pulled out his brand new blade and launched from his treetop perch towards the unprepared king. Tenten didn't have time to get her bearings and dodge, so she opted to just slide out of the tree to avoid being trisected by their colliding blades. Geez, I spend my time finding tutors for his underlings, and he repays me by nearly dicing me up with Sasuke's help. Tenten sighed before pulling out a weapon scroll and summoning her arsenal before turning around to face Stoic. Training Ground 38. Naruto yelled as he lost his balance once again, and prepared himself for the icy cold waters of the river to wash over him once again. Being submerged in the wintry brook was initially cool and refreshing against the intense amount of sweat he had managed to build up in his concentration, but it quickly turned uncomfortable, as the not quite frozen liquid soaked him to the bone. Rising out of the tributary and drying himself off to avoid hypothermia, Naruto gasped and sighed in frustration. I just can't get the right amount of chakra. It changes so frequently, Naruto thought as he looked out over slow-flowing water. Seems like you're still struggling. Naruto turned to find Jiraiya sitting up in a tree. Naruto sighed as he made his way out of the water. Maintaining the right amount of chakra is difficult. The flow of the water is unpredictable and changes from moment to moment. Naruto complained as Jiraiya sighed and thought over the situation. I don't blame you for failing. You're actually doing amazingly well considering it's not even been a week and you were basically starting from scratch. It usually takes years of academy training to get to where you are now. Isn't that just because the academy also teaches all the basic shinobi jutsu as well? Naruto pointed out, but Jiraiya shook his head. That they do. But don't get it wrong, chakra control is still the most difficult aspect of early shinobi training, especially for one in your particular situation. Jiraiya said, gesturing to the newly repaired seal. Doesn't help that I'm freezing my ass off for 5 minutes after getting dunked by my awful chakra control. Naruto elicited a chuckle from his godfather. Well, there might be another way you can get better chakra control. Jiraiya pondered whether or not Naruto would be capable of pulling it off. And you're just mentioning this to me now? You liked watching me freeze and drown, didn't you? Naruto accused him with a scoff of minor frustration. Not sure if it'll work fully, but we're not looking for perfect control, just enough that you'll know how to make the sealing jutsu not backfire. Jiraiya stated as Naruto raised an eyebrow at that. Then why haven't you told me that method? Naruto questioned while Jiraiya smirked as he jumped down. Because it'll set you back a couple weeks or so. It's overall quicker, but it's a much more difficult path. But the good news is that it's the same level of difficulty no matter what level of shinobi you are. And with your chakra reserves being supercharged by Kurama, I suppose I should say its name, it could actually be a deadly weapon in your arsenal. Would definitely catch those battle droids you were talking about by surprise. Jiraiya answered, causing Naruto to frown as he weighed his options. He could learn the alternative and then master water walking on his own. He needed control over his power first, everything else was secondary. Alright. I like the sound of that. I'll bite. Naruto responded as Jiraiya nodded before he opened his hand and brought it in front of the ex-Jedi Master turned Shinobi training. This technique was actually made by your father, the 4th Hokage. Jiraiya stated as a spiral of blue energy started to form in his palm, leaving Naruto mesmerized by its majestic glow. Its unique coloring almost reminded him of hyperspace. Land of Rain, in a mysterious flooded cave. What are we doing here? I have art to create, damn it. An effeminate man with his long blonde hair and a ponytail rudely introduced himself, while another rolled his eyes. Explosions aren't a form of art, Deidara. The figure questioned as Deidara huffed. And those puppets are, Sasori. Deidara questioned as Sasori nodded. Sasori appeared to be a hunched-over old man with a gruff voice, with a face mask covering half of his face. By preserving people and making puppets out of them, I am preserving their beauty, and that beauty is true art. There's little beauty in the fires of chaos. The hunched-over form of Sasori replied. As the two debated the definition of art, others looked on the two bickering in mild amusement to pass the time. While I care not about their debate, I care less for my time being wasted. Can we get to the reason this meeting was called already? I have other bounties to collect and this is wasting that precious time. Kakuza questioned as Hidan grunted in argument. That money-loving idiot is right. Why the hell am I being pulled from my rituals? The white-haired Hidan questioned as everyone looked at the religious fanatic. Hidan was known for his zealous nature when it came to fighting his opponents. He carried a large triple-bladed scythe on his back to accompany him in battle. The other members too all had the same question. Enough. Zetsu, why have you called this meeting so urgently? They all went silent as they turned to their leader, Pain. Everyone here knew how powerful he was and to defy him wouldn't be in their best interest. Pain's most notable feature were the small chakra rods implanted all over his body. It seems like the Kyuubi Jinchuriki has finally resurfaced. A plaid-like being, one half pale white, the other jet black, reported as it emerged from the stone floor of the cave. Before it were 9 pillars, and on each other stood a figure, the founding members of the Akatsuki. About time. I'm wondering where they kept him hidden. The shark-like member, Kasame, stated as he grinned. Kasame truly looked like a shark, and attached to his back was his chakra-hungry sword, Samahata. Intriguing that he should come forward now. We could not find him all these years, and now he emerges practically from non-existence. Sounds odd to me. Sasori, the puppet master, stated. Some of the other members agreed. They had tried for years to find the Kyuubi Jinchuriki. After countless expeditions to Alliance strongholds, they had begun to think that the container of the 9 tails had been expatriated to somewhere they'd likely never find him, or that perhaps Orochimaru had gotten his hands on the Uzumaki child. If he's come forward now, then it's a great likelihood that he's become powerful. We should not underestimate him. The blue-haired Konin, the only female member of Akatsuki, advised her friend and confidant. That doesn't matter. The balance of power is still overwhelmingly in our favor. Now that the Kyuubi Jinchuriki has been located, we can finally end our recusal and move forward with our plans. Everyone turned to look at their leader, Pain, as the multitude of rims in his purple eyes shone in the dark, giving the leaders of Akatsuki an ominous, dreadful feeling. Soon, they would strike, and whenever Akatsuki acted, there was bound to be bloodshed. Thanks for listening. I do hope you enjoyed. If you want the next part of this video, like, subscribe and comment down below, and turn on the bell notification. And also check out other videos that I have created and enjoy. See you in the next video. Peace.